Hello, people of Earth, and welcome to this retrospective about Pete Walker, one of my favourite British horror directors, one of my favourite British directors. I think most people think about him being around in the 70s. I was exposed to his work a couple of years ago when I bought a job lot of DVDs, and I got this, which is not the latest one, which is super expensive, called The Flesh and Blood Show box set, but this is, I think, his best four films, so I'm probably not going to upgrade. He's got my favourite one. I'm going to take you through probably all or most of his films and discuss them. I think, one of the most underrated horror creators ever. As my dog tries to get up on the chair next to me. Here she is. Hello, Massey. So as soon as the dog comes on, the viewing figures are going to go through the roof. Hi, Marcy. Hi. So yeah, she wants to know all about Pete Walker. We all want to know about Pete Walker. I'm going to have a look through his IMDb. I also mentioned, when I mention Pete Walker, I'll talk a lot about Norman J. Warren as well. Who's also, I would put him, those two together as making some of the best horror films of the 70s in Britain and early 80s. They were, I don't know, I think it was just the wrong time. It was post-Hammer, and they were just seen as absolute trash. Whereas I think people are starting to appreciate them a lot more now. At least I hope so. Maybe if you've watched this video, you might go and discover some of them for yourself. So the four main ones I'm going to talk about are Frightmare, House of Whipcord, The Flesh and Blood Show, and Die Screaming Marianne. Now, Die Screaming Marianne is my favourite one. The amazing Susan George in there, I just think is just like an angel, was just an absolute angel. So let's break down who Pete Walker is, first of all. We'll maybe talk late 70s, early 80s. We're talking about him. So in the 80s, Mary Whitehouse was very much cracking down or trying to crack down on certain types of films. But in the 70s, there was a British independent director named Pete Walker. I'm just having a look at my notes here as well, because I don't want to miss anything out. So what was he famous for? Low budget, graphic, sadistic horror films. None of his films were actually classed as video nasties, though, interestingly. Did trouble the censors, though. I think he mixed a lot of genres. So we had erotic, detective, thrillers, always came back to horror. And I'm just going to kind of give you an overview of some of them, maybe the top 7, and then we'll have a look at his IMDb, see if I missed anything, and then we'll talk about some of my favourites. So The Flesh and Blood Show, we'll talk about. I like this one a lot. Flesh and Blood Show I do own, which is this one here. I think it's got a great cover. I don't know if you've seen with the glare. It's got a great cover. It's very similar to the artwork that they're using on the new All Singing, All Dancing set that they've released recently, which I was very tempted by, but I thought, no, these are my favourite ones. I don't need to upgrade them. So Flesh and Blood Show is a group of actors. They take a job in a rep company. They improvise something called the Flesh and Blood Show. They rehearse in an abandoned pier, and there is in between little bits of acting, not a lot. People keep turning up dead. It's not my favourite of his. It's got a great title, and I think that's why people, even I think the new box set is actually called The Flesh and Blood Show. It's good. It's like, I guess, one of the early prototype slashers, and British people don't tend to be very good at making the slashers kind of like the American slashers around the time. I mean, when's this? 1972. This is a really good one. But it's not my favourite of his. It's a great title, though, and I think a lot of people go to it. Let's see if there's anything else I can add to from my notes about The Flesh and Blood Show. So a lot of people say that it's got a great setup. It shows his flair for directing rather than story. That's okay. You just want his films are a lot of fun. Like they're pretty wild. Okay, the next one I'm going to talk about, I don't own, and I'm probably never likely to own. It's a really strange one. Having said that, no, I might own it. I mean, it gets mixed up with another film with the same title. It's 1977's Schizo. So this is basically a guy who is stalking an ice skater, and he's kind of always leaving items around for her, knives and all different things. keeps turning up wherever she is. There's a part where he kind of turns up and sort of assimilates into being like a chef and a waiter and does some weird stuff. I won't ruin it. Stephanie Beacham's in it. The creepy psycho in it is played really well by a guy named Jack Watson, who I don't really know that well. It's interesting to see I think there's something about seeing ice skating in horror films that makes it kind of, I don't know, I guess it's the Blade side of things. There's a little bit of a synchronicity there. Hello, thanks for joining me. Hello. A few people tuning in already on this afternoon. I'm a little bit under the weather, so I'm just kind of running through one of my favourite directors to cheer myself up. Some people are getting up, and it's morning for them, and some people are getting ready for work. So yeah, so Schizo is it's I guess Walker's attempt at doing something like Hitchcock, and a little bit more OTT, a little bit more in your face, and it's okay. It's good. It's all right. Now, we'll start talking about some that I absolutely love in a bit. Now, the next one is The Day the Screaming Stopped. It's also known as The Comeback. Now, this is a strange one because my mum and dad used to have this guy's records. I never thought he would turn up in a Pete Walker British horror film called The Comeback. Jack Jones is in this film, if you might know who Jack Jones is. It's also Cockney rhyming slang for being on your own, on your Jack Jones. And then shortened to On Your Jack. So the film follows, and I haven't got The Comeback. It is free on Amazon Prime at the moment. So basically, he's a retired musician called Nick Cooper. He breaks up with his wife, and he tries to move on to record a new album because of his manager keeps pushing for one, not because he really wants to do one. So then he goes to this manor. There's Bill Owen from Last of the Summer Wine is his gardener. Is a bit odd. He starts having like a relationship with the secretary of his manager, who's played by Pamela Stevenson, who you may know. Pamela Stevenson, she's married to Billy Connolly, and she's a psychiatrist or psychologist, not sure which one. And she used to be in Not the 9 O'Clock News, so she's got like comedic chops. She doesn't get to do very much in this. So basically, his work is interrupted. It's all about kind of writer's block, I guess. There's lots of fever dreams and strange noises and creepy stuff. And if you're looking for one thing that Jack Jones did, he did the theme song for The Love Boat. Exciting and new. It has some giallo vibes to it. It doesn't feel as much effort and time and thought went into this film as some other ones I'm going to talk about. Okay, so the next one's really interesting because it's 1983, so we're kind of at the nearing the end of him making lots of films, which is House of the Long Shadows, which you might know because it has Vincent Price in it, it has Peter Cushing in it, it has David Carradine in it, it has Christopher Lee in it. All obviously this is 1983, so they're some of them are struggling. Desi Arnaz Jr. is basically a writer. Again, similar to the last film, but in this one, he makes a bet with his publisher. He can write a tale as good as Wuthering Heights in 24 hours, but he needs to do it in complete privacy. And of course, he needs to do it in a spooky old mansion. Now, this isn't a great film, but it is often shown on Talking Pictures TV and things like that. It's often shown in the UK. It's often shown all over the place, really, quite easy to get hold of. There's different versions of it. There's no like definitive great version of it to buy. What's the matter? Marcy, what? She's obviously not a fan of Night of the Long Knives. Night of the Long Knives? No, that's something to do with World War II that I learned about in school. Oh my word. Freudian slip. House of the Long Shadows. Night of the Long Knives. I think that's to do with when Hitler took power, isn't it? Anyway, Julie Peasgood is in it, who's kind of British soap opera actress. She is the secretary. It's okay. I have a feeling as well. This is really strange. It feels like everybody's been thrown at this. We've got Pete Walker, we've got Christopher Lee, we've got Vincent Price, Julie Peasgood, David Carradine, Peter Cushing, and it's also a Golan Globus canon release as well. It's an Desi Arnaz Jr. It's a strange film. Not a lot happens. I think maybe because of the physicality of the thing. I think the comedian. This is a strange one, but the comedian. What's he called? Not funny comedian. He's really not funny British guy. He's like, "Ooh, have you ever opened a drawer? Things are inside the drawer." Michael McIntyre. I think his dad worked on this film. He may have even been a producer or the writer or done something behind the scenes. And I have a feeling that there's pictures of a very young Michael McIntyre with all these amazing actors. So it's worth watching, but be warned, you could fall asleep watching it. Now, it doesn't sound like I'm doing a very good job of selling Pete Walker, but I would say all these films are watchable. All these films are interesting in their own way, but we're getting towards some really good ones next. So the next one, this one is insane, absolutely mad. Like, it's a wild film. This is the first ever Pete Walker film I saw, and I do own it. It is called Frightmare. Okay, so if you've seen Frightmare, I don't need to tell you what it's about. And for some reason, I have 2 copies of it. I have a copy of it, and this came in the box, so I don't know whether the person I bought it off, I have 2 copies and just put them together. I do that sometimes. There's one that's in the Shriek Show box set, and then there's this other one that's from Redemption. One says 18 on it, and the other one, I know, because one's Region 1. So this is about, and this is quite rare because it's kind of like crazy older folks. So basically, this couple, Rupert Davis and Sheila Keith, and they're called Edmund and Dorothy. They're convicted of murder. They put in a mental institution. They're released 17 years later, and they're in a farmhouse. And Edmund has a half daughter who keeps visiting them, and she delivers packages to them to satiate this urge that they have. Well, you don't find this out straight away, so I don't want to give too much away. But they're blood-soaked packages. Strange behavior. Jackie is also trying to look after her younger sister, who's like a juvenile delinquent, kind of motorcycle gang, and all this kind of stuff. And these things kind of become intertwined. There's a lot of murders, and the censors hated this. Sheila Keith's amazing in it as the kind of the mother. The way they've made her look on the front cover, it looks like it's a man. They make her look like a man, but actually that's the mother. And like trying to, like, the psychiatrist boyfriend trying to work out and curb the psychosis, the farmhouse scenes, the violence. It is insane. Written by David McGillivray and Pete Walker together. It's one of my favorite Pete Walker films, if not the favorite. It's definitely a good one to watch for your first one. So Frightmare is a cracking film, absolutely cracking film. Now, the next one is also a cracking film, and I do have this one too, which is House of Whipcord. Okay, House of Whipcord. Whipcord. Now, basically, a guy picks up a woman. She's like at the side of the road. She's frightened, disheveled, like had a horrible time. And then through flashbacks, we find out what happened. So she's kind of a free and easy French model, played by the actress Penny Irving, who I don't know much about, but I know that she's stunning in this one. And she meets this stranger. Basically, it's like an age or an alternative. There's a group of people who have these kind of this prison/school. Who they see women behaving in ways they disapprove of, and they just whip them off the streets and they disappear, and they end up in this institution. And they're kind of manipulating the doctor in charge to put these women into the care of these wardens, and the main warden's called Margaret. And they basically take people captive because the London courts are too lenient. So it's kind of I guess it's like a social commentary on like conservatism and like how far should you go in one direction, or maybe it's just a wild crazy film where it's not making any point whatsoever. So they get like demerits, and with each demerit they get amounts of like whippings, hence Whipcord, and then it even goes all the way to hanging for some of them. So Anne-Marie realizes she's got to get out of this place if it's the last thing she ever does. And it is definitely one of his better films. It's got a great story, crazy old crones. He likes old crones. The patriarch of the prison is just like, he's senile. He's like young Mr. Grace from Are You Being Served? He's like, he doesn't know what's going on. He just goes along with what the chief warden lady tells him to do. There's lots of nudity in this. So if that's not your thing, then probably maybe don't watch it. The atmosphere is crazy. You really are rooting for her to escape. And I'm not going to tell you anything else about it. So yeah, House of Whipcord. So yeah, of my box set of 4, I would say Frightmare, House of Whipcord, The Flesh and Blood Show. They're all some of his better films. I'll tell you my favourite one is the 4th one in the box set that I have. Maybe I will get it if the price ever comes down, but usually the new box sets come out, if you don't get them straight away for the price that they are, then the secondary market, they're even more expensive. So it's unlikely I'm ever going to get it, I think. Then number 1. Now this one, okay. I tried with this film a few times. A lot of people love it. So I just literally went through the 7 most talked about, or like I kind of looked on aggregators and saw what was talked about the most. The one that was talked about the most was House of Mortal Sin. Now, I don't find this as exciting as another film that I'm going to talk about in a moment. This is basically another religious-based film where Susan Penhaligon, Sheila Keith's in this again, Stephanie Beecham's in this again, Anthony Sharp is the lead in it. This is essentially about a young woman who dies by jumping out of her window, and they're trying to work out what's going on from finding the note in her Bible. But it's kind of about the young priest and an old priest kind of having different opinions on how to support and help people through this trauma. But then it's like, oh, who do we trust? What's going on here? Like, some of these things are a bit dodgy. Maybe this person who's a paragon of virtue isn't a paragon of virtue. So it's quite interesting. There's blackmail, murders. There's a few murders in here. And it's maybe Anthony Sharp as the Father Meldrum that makes it people talk about it the most, because he's super OTT and he plays it really well. A man of power and control, but he's full of insecurity. So it's a really good performer, and he makes it quite terrifying with Meldrum's sort of Presbyterian approach. But I prefer the sort of the balls to the wall House of Whipcord, I would say. So those are the ones that, like, if you looked online, you would find out the most about his films. Of course, there are others. There are many others, including one that is my favourite that we haven't mentioned yet. Let's just get his IMDb up on screen if we can. There we go. I am bigger than the IMDb. There we go. That's a bit better. So, yeah, born in Brighton. Interesting. I just interviewed Megan Adara from Jamie Langler's film The Cellar, which is based out of Brighton as well. So I feel like Pete Walker's he's done a bit of everything, like stand-up comedy and production and all different types of films and genres. So let's have a look what it says here. Films that are mentioned are up there. Some of those I've not seen. I've not seen School for... I've not seen Man of Violence. I've not seen House of Long Shadows. I have seen. So he's directed 36 films. Have I just got rid of that? Yes, I think I have. So let's see if I can find Reginald Drew. Oh, interesting. So, I think I've accidentally hidden all his films rather than actually highlighting the films that he's seen. So I'm not going to go into every last film that he's done, but there are some of them that I have not mentioned that I know are wonderful. So let's have a look. So House of Long Shadows was the last film he directed. Home Before Midnight, I'm not that aware of, and neither am The Comeback. Schizo and House of Whipcord back to back. That's kind of a really interesting one, because the lead actress, I believe, is some sort of minor royal, and she bought the rights to it, so you can't see it anywhere. However, it is on Amazon Prime. Go figure. Basically, a woman whose clothes falls off a lot as she's kind of used as a political tool to stop a war, if I remember correctly. It's a weird one. Tiffany Jones. It's not great, but yeah, her clothes fall off a lot. Flesh and Blood show we talked about. Four Dimensions of Greta I've not seen. Now, this is the one I wanted to talk to you about. Die Screaming Marianne. Now, it might not be for everyone. It was definitely for me. Essentially, this young woman, she inherits things from her parents after they divorce. The father is like a judge or something. He lives abroad. He's corrupt, and then the other sister wants the money back, and they kind of get used and kind of. I'm not sure if the sisters really used, but like they definitely get manipulated, and everyone's vying for this money. And essentially, will Marianne last to the end of the film? Hildegard, her sister, will she manage to kill or Marianne, Susan George's character? Now, it's mainly filmed in Portugal. There's a lot in Britain as well. It's pretty mad, really. Like, she's only just turning 21 in it. I don't know if that's how old she was at the time of making the film, but she's great in it. It's his first try at kind of doing a horror thriller, it says here, and I would say that. The judge, and then it's kind of got like these, like hippies where they're like, oh man, you don't understand me, like to the judge, and kind of like make fun of him. There's some pretty insane sauna scenes. Oh, look at that review. Die Yawning Marianne. Oh my word. Well, there's no accounting for taste. But yes, I would recommend it a great deal. Die Screaming Marianne. It's an interesting take on. But there we go. I'll move it down a little bit. But she's absolutely beautiful in this film. But that's not the only reason to watch it. But it definitely adds to it. So where are we? So I'm going to show you the. This is the DVD, The Die Screaming Marianne. I'm not sure it sells it very well. It kind of looks like some sort of interpretive dance. So I don't know. I don't know really if that's the best way of selling this film. So let's read what it says in the back. And there's the back of it. So, with the death of her mother, Marianne, Susan George Straw Dogs stands to inherit a rather substantial family fortune as soon as she turns 21. Not only is there a vast sum of money involved, there is also a certain incriminating documents that her father, a corrupt judge, Leo Gen, a lizard in the woman's skin, and I feel like Pete Walker's trying a little bit of giallo out here as well, does not want getting out, and with her money-hungry half-sister champing at the bit, will Marianne even live to see her 21st birthday? Will she? An early outing for British blood baron Pete Walker, Frightmare, The Confessional. Die Screaming Marianne is a psychological thriller that deals with jealousy, murder, incest, and explores the paranoia of being surrounded by a family that cannot be trusted. Ooh, wow. That sounds better. That sounds much better when you read it like that. Again, I'm not sure whether the front cover does it much justice, even like the back cover does. Like, yeah, I don't know. So, if you can get hold of this one on the secondary market, this might be better than actually getting hold of the new one. If you type in Pete Walker into Amazon, you get some weird and wonderful answers. But the same with eBay, to be honest, you'd probably better hopefully get that one on eBay. The Flesh and Blood show, it's the 7 film box set, is £80 on Amazon at the moment. £80 from any other if you buy it directly. There is the Exploitation collection as well, which has For Men Only, Home Before Midnight, School for Sex, Cool It, Carol, are on there as well, with a lovely picture of Howell Bennett on the front. I've not seen that one. I think that's an 88 pictures film. There is the four one that I've got, but on Blu-ray for £100, which is insane. And so the £80 one has 7 films on it, and let's just go through what's on that. It does look great. It does look amazing. Hey, Shamel, it's good to see you. How are you? Oh, you're good. That's excellent. Good to hear it. Just waking up there. So the 7-picture one, I can't show it on the screen because it does have like the front cover of it has naked people on it. Shocking. So it has The Comeback, which we discussed earlier on, I believe. Yeah, more haunting than melody. Then it has Die Screaming Marianne with a new front cover, which is different to the one that I've got, which looks like that. So it looks a bit better, but still, I don't think it does Susan George justice. The Flesh and Blood Show, which we discussed. Frightmare, with a much better front cover, which we discussed. And then does it show any others of what else are on it? Let's see. Let's go through the list. Celebrated as the godfather of British horror. Wow, okay. Pete Walker is one of the most controversial exploitation filmmakers of the 60s and 70s. Graduating from saucy comedies and gangland dramas, he found tabloid infamy, they've all got it, infamy, making gore-splattered horror movies, or terror movies as he preferred to call them. Okay, don't know that by that. His first X-rated thriller, Die Screaming Marianne, shocked audiences. Subsequent films like House of Whipcord established his reputation for sadistic and bloody horror, cementing his status as the biggest cult British filmmaker of his generation. That's interesting because largely forgotten. But anyway, now for the very first time, and I almost met Norman J. Warren, who I would say I put alongside with Satan's Slave and things like that, which are incredible films. I almost met him before he passed away. Now for the very first time, Walker's 70s horror movies are collected on Blu-ray, blah, 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 starring a host of famous faces. Robin Asquith, I don't know which one he's in, Stephanie Beecham, Anne Michelle, Susan Penhaligon, Luann Peter, and his favourite actress and omnipresent scary old lady, Sheila Keith, yes, from Frightmare, brings together Die Screaming Marianne, The Flesh and Blood Show, House of Whipcord, Frightmare, House of Mortal Sin, Schizo, and The Comeback. Okay, that's a good collection. So let's give you the sort of timeline. So 1971, Die Screaming Marianne, Flesh and Blood Show 1972, House of Whipcord 1974, Frightmare 1974 as well, so we did two that year. House of Mortal Sin 1976. There's interviews with Pete Walker for all of these as well, and the writer David McGilvray. And Kim Newman's on a few of them. I like Kim Newman of Anno Dracula, and great film reviews. So when was it? House of Mortal Sin, 1976. Schizo, 1976, so the same year. The Comeback, 1978. And that's it. So that is, it says a lot of good reviews for it so far. And I believe it is from 88 Films. So yeah, that would be a good one to get. I'm interested in the exploitation ones that he did as well. And Night of the Eagle is available separately. So just a little amuse-bouche, a little taster of a little mouth amuser, or eye amuser, or brain and ear amuser. I don't know what I'm talking about. Talking about Pete Walker there. So if it's the first time you've heard of Pete Walker, I recommend you get out there and have a look. If you're looking for something wild and crazy from a horror point of view, then I would say you're talking Frightmare or House of Whipcord. So if you're going to watch them in an order, I would say watch Frightmare. Then when you finish Frightmare, watch House of Whipcord. And then when you finish that, finish with Die Screaming Marianne, I would say. And then, to be honest, if you watch any of his others, you'll enjoy them, I'm sure. But those, for me, are the 3 great ones to watch. That's a good evening lined up there already. Schizo, maybe, for the 4th one, would be good. But again, I think that suffers from having the same name as the, is it the Zito film? Also called Schizo. So Yeah, there's another Pete Walker collection available, which has sort of some drawn artwork on there, which has House of Whipcord, The Comeback, Schizo, and Die Screaming Marianne, so it misses out a couple of those. That's £100 on Amazon at the moment. Schizo is hard to get hold of. It's also called a mock, and to buy it on its own is quite expensive. The Night of... I always forget the name. I always want to say Night of the Long Knives, but it's not called that, is it? The one with Christopher Lee and everybody in it is available quite cheaply. You can get hold of that. The Flesh and Blood Show is confusing because a lot of the collections are called the Flesh and Blood Show for some reason. Man of Violence is available. But again, a lot of these, and Germans seem to love it. There's lots of German media books of them. 2-disc ones and steel books and media books. So I guess he was very popular in Germany as well, Pete Walker. So that's cool. So I don't know, man. The £80 one, you're talking what? 7 films? 7 films for £80. So you're talking like maybe like a tenner each. Do you want me to? Maybe I will. I will run down some of the extras to give you an idea. So they're from 88 films. What they've done is they have got some audio commentaries. Now, I'm not a big fan of audio commentaries just from people who like films or media people, but I will make an exception for Kim Newman. Is that Kim Walker? I don't know who Kim Walker is. I think she... No. I will make an exception for that. And maybe some film critics, or if someone was paying me to do it. Those are the only exceptions I've made. There's interviews with Pete Walker on the Die Screaming Marianne disc. There's audio commentary with Pete Walker on the Flesh and Blood Show, so that'd be interesting. Interview with third assistant director and some of the actors. House of Whipcord, there is a documentary called An Insider's View of the Film's Courting Controversy. Sheila Keith, A Nice Old Lady featurette, which is quite interesting. Reversible artwork. They're all put into 2K, so they're all in 2K, if that means anything to you. Frightmare has a commentary with Kim Newman, but writer David McGilvray as well. And there's also a commentary with Pete Walker and biographer Stephen Chibnall. He sounds familiar. And reversible artwork on all of them, I think. Yes, there is. House of Mortal Sin, again, the same crew, I think, and also Pete Walker. In a special interview with him as well. Schizo, the same crew. So pretty much all of them have an interview, or at least an interview, or a director or writer commentary available. So that's pretty cool. Hey, Nanette. Oh, I was just watching one of your videos this morning. It was really interesting. Guys, check out Nanette's live streams because there's some really good recommendations of films to watch that were on there recently. So I really enjoyed that. Thank you. That was awesome. So yeah, in the comeback, again, the same crew, Kim Newman, David McGilvray, audio commentary with Pete Walker, and an interview with him about all the different women that were in his films as well. So that's interesting. At the moment, everything's got a 4.8 out of 5. Just realised that I forgot, but Robin Asquith is in the Flesh and Blood Show. I think he's one of the young actors in there. So that's why I had a bit of a blank. But yeah, that's why. People are giving it a great rundown, great background, like a great kind of reviews so far related to this film. So that's a good start. This box set. So if you are interested in shelling out that cash, there's a lot of discussion. I've seen a lot of videos recently, a lot of discussion about the prices of things being ridiculous. I think it just depends on what you get for your money and what you're into. So if you're going to watch all those commentaries and interviews, then it's definitely worth it, isn't it? But if you're not, it might not be. Again, I think I could probably survive by having my 4 favourite ones. I might buy a couple more of his films separately if they come up cheaply on eBay, or I see them somewhere. I literally got a job lot of DVDs old things like Twilight Zone and The Outer Limits, and this was in the pack. Oh, and I also had like a lot of sort of Nazi exploitation ones. They were also in this pack, and I think I bought it for £20 off Facebook and went and picked them up. And I never heard of Pete Walker, and I'm so glad I did pick them up, because I sold on a lot of them because I could get a decent amount of money for them, and then I was like, no, I'm going to keep hold of this. I'm going to watch these and see what they're like, because something just kind of. Whereas like what's it called? Is it She-Wolf of the SS and all that kind of stuff just wasn't cutting it for me. It was just a lot of penises being cut off, and just wasn't my jam. So so that's Pete Walker. If you have any other Pete Walker films, or some of the ones that I've not seen, I think there's maybe 2 or 3 of his that I've not seen, let me know. And if you like them and you think, oh no, you need to check that one out. But again, those are my kind of suggestions in which order you watch them. You can find some of them on YouTube, I believe. Criminally underrated and criminally kind of put down at the time, and I feel like horror now is so popular that there deserves to be a little bit of love for Pete Walker, and certainly Norman Warren as well, who did Inseminoid and Satan's Slave. Like, when no one was interested in making horror films in the UK, when there was no horror boom, when, I mean, I know you could say there isn't now, but you can make, there's films being made now, whereas I think that Warren and Walker were kind of just ploughing a bit of a lone furrow at the time, and maybe didn't get the kudos that they deserve. So yeah, go get those kudos. So yes, British horror quadruple feature, the one I've got, Shriek Show. That would be the one I'd recommend if you can get hold of it. It's Region 1, I believe. It has trailers on it and some photo galleries, so it can tell you how old the thing is as well. Yeah, I think maybe that's what I might do with that. With this, I may not wait for the new £80. I may not buy the new £80 set right now. I just can't justify spending £80 on it, especially because I've just ordered the Confessions series and that's on its way. Well, that's out in August, and that was one I couldn't resist, but I did have another copy of it, of 4 of them on a box set that I sold, and I used that money to buy the new set. So sometimes I'll do that. If I kind of just remind myself the orders that I've got coming up. So I've got Confessions series, which is coming through Indicator. You can kind of see on there, the Confessions series is coming in mid-August, and myself and Gareth, Video Tasties, we're watching Confessions of a Window Cleaner together in August. Just try and tie in with that. And I've got another film that is on the way from Terracotta, which I'm really getting into their films at the moment, called Orgasmo, which is I believe, I don't know much about it, but for whatever reason, it really interested me, not just the name. It's a Blu-ray, and it looks like a giallo that I'm not aware of. So, even if I would just fight, which I wouldn't. That's it. I think the only time I ever really spend things that are on something expensive, what I will do is I will try and sell something of that value or get as much as I can for it, and then I'm not paying as much. I did have a massive cull. If you look on my channel, I've got the cull of my DVDs, cull of my Blu-rays, and the cull of my VHS. I've now just got films that I absolutely love. I don't have like every single film that I've ever owned. Like, I've got like a massive sort of cupboard over there that's got like all my DVDs in it, all my horror. Then I've got my Blu-rays down here to my right, and I've got like a little VHS stand of about 20 to 30 VHSs that I love, like Batman and Flight of the Navigator and Tommy Boy and Friday the 13th Part 4. But even though I sometimes do splurge a little bit on things, I try and balance it by selling things off or getting rid of things that I don't want anymore. So I sold all my Star Wars figures, but then I started, this is where everything collapses, I think. I started buying the retro figures, but now retro figures are super popular and they keep making wave after wave of them. So I have had to stop. So it's an Amazon day. I did buy a couple of bounty hunters. I bought Bosk and a few others, but yeah, I'm trying not to spend as much money, and I'm also trying to like only buy things that I absolutely love. But this is the thing, I'm not having like a massive this year when it gets, because my birthday's around Christmas, I'm not having like a big, I want this, this and this from, if anybody asks, like Amazon thing. What I'm going to do is I've got some movie posters. I'm just going to ask people, because we have a local framers in our village. So I'm just going to get some vintage posters framed. So I've got a vintage Star Crash, the bigger version of that one behind me. That one. I've got a full, massive Flight of the Navigator poster, which took me ages to get over. I've got a basket case poster, Spanish one, which looks awesome because I love basket case. And I've got a Batman 89 one, an original one, the sort of portrait one. And they're going to, I think, go behind me there. I'm going to move that football shirt, move some of my Stockport County things, maybe even move some of these little pictures here, the different things. And this wall over here is blank. I might move them over here. And then behind me, you'll be able to see my Flight of the Navigator, my basket case, and all that kind of good stuff. And if I can kind of like move my thing up like that, you'll be able to see them all, won't you? Hopefully. So that'd be quite nice. I would like to get a little lamp. I saw a really cool lamp the other day. And it was Jason Voorhees suspended in water. And I thought I might have that behind me. And a massive sign saying subscribe on it, actually. So yeah, I mean, and ultimately, a lot of these things, if you want to watch them, there are ways to watch them for free, for sure. So give them a chance for free, and then if you want to buy them later on down the road, you can do. You don't have to. Like somebody said the other day, I think it was on Stuart George's channel, it might have been, he was saying about the new Hitcher film and it being £50, and he had it on VHS, and it's like sentimental value and great for him, and he was happy with that. And I was like, yeah, I get that. It's like, I'm sure they're going to do like an amazing 4K or something of Terrorvision, but can it be better than my Terrorvision VHS? No. And ultimately, sometimes you just have these things just to have them, don't you? Because you want to kind of nail your colours to the mast that you love them. So yeah, that's my plan, and that's my plan for my room. Whether I actually do it or not, I don't know. It might depend on my hanging picture skills. If you watch one of my streams and everything's smashed up and I'm crying, then I've hung up everything terribly. But yeah, it does sound like it's a good plan, and it'll be a nice way of kind of people getting me things that I want in a way. Because I've got some art cards as well for. I keep talking about Star Crash a lot. I've got so much Star Crash stuff, like Blu-rays and VHSs and signed things and art cards and posters, and like, it's funny because like I wouldn't say like I think Star Crash is a great film or anything, but I have such a sentimental value for it, from meeting Luigi Cozzi and kind of meeting Caroline Munro so many times and chatting to her, and watching Star Crash on, was it Riff Tracks or Mystery Science Theatre? I can't remember which one. And just, it's so silly, and a film made from the novelization of Star Wars before they actually seen the film. It's like just hilarious. And David Hasselhoff's in it too as well. So yeah, it's I think certainly for my mental health, I think it's good sometimes to kind of just have enough rather than overwhelm myself with stuff. I think that's really important. It can be a little bit too much sometimes, having lots of, and then you start thinking, oh, that costs this and this costs that, and like I can be a bit of a splurger and overspend at times. But yeah, I'm not aiming to have the world's greatest collection of anything. I just want to have the things that I love. So yeah, so that's my plan. Well, I appreciate everybody who's joined in and watching. If you're watching in the future, let me know if you've watched any Pete. Sort of watch a lot then. If you see any Pete Walker films or know any Pete Walker films, yeah, keep me informed in any British horror that you've seen, modern or otherwise. I feel like I'm breaking up a little bit, or I'm lagging a bit. So I don't know if you heard that last bit, but yeah, if you've seen any Pete Walker films, let me know. So guys, I appreciate you all popping in, and I appreciate you having this chat with me. Again, Die Screaming Marianne is just such a great film. I keep returning to it, and I'm not sure if that's just because of Susan George, but whether it is a great film. But again, like this evening, I might well watch Frightmare and House of Whipcord. Cannibal Grannies. I mean, come on. Which one am I talking about? You have to find out. You have to watch and find out. So as you know, there is only one way to end a Pugwall 316 stream. And this one, my friends, is it. So yeah, be careful out there. Enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy your Saturday morning, your Saturday evening. Goodbye.